everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Unglamorous Truths, an entertainment podcast on how to make it come hell or high water. I'm Mehmet.
I'm Chandra.
I'm Crystal.
And today we are going to talk about proof of concept. But my kickoff question to you is, what is your dream trip for Q4? End of the year, we got,
So I'm so not a business person. I was like a Q group. Okay, Q4.
If you could go anywhere in the world, one last trip before the year is up, where do you want to go?
You know what's crazy? I always forget that Q4 starts in October because it feels so like it's not that far away. Like it's literally
It's crazy to even think that October to December is even a quarter.
You know what I mean?
It's like legitimate.
October is cute. It's not cold yet, so I will throw out. I'm really trying to get to Paris, and I'm really trying to get to Greece.
Ooh.
And it's calling me, so I'm ready to just see what that thing's about.
Definitely something Southern Hemisphere.
Yes.
It's nothing better
warmth.
than it's nothing better than leaving one climate and walking off into another one. Like, feels like you've really gone somewhere. Maybe like Brazil. I don't know. Sounds like a good way to end the year.
It's a beautiful place. You know, November is my birthday, so there's always a trip around there. But sadly, there's no place that has been calling me like for a minute, and like. I guess it's a blessing to say that, like, the dream destinations I've been to, I would like to go somewhere warm. I would like to go to, like, a beach city because I haven't been to a beach city outside of the one that I live in a really long time. Costa Rica is really, and I've been there twice. Good God.
Yeah, I've been there 3 times, and I keep saying I'm
never going back.
I've been there 3 times. Oh my gosh, it's
so
such
great.
a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful place. It earns it.
It is a hard place, though. It's a lot of driving, a lot of traveling.
Not easy, effortless getting to and fro.
Effortful.
Yeah.
Effortful.
Yeah.
All right. So, in regards to proof of concepts, how would y'all define a proof of concept? Just for the ones that, don't really understand it.
I won't be answering that because I don't really know.
Really? What was Downtown Girls? I mean, it didn't start off that way. Oh. She's getting spicy.
No, I think she was just answering. I'll take this.
I was about to go on a whole tangent, and I'm about to anyway.
Literally.
It makes me think about, I was in a wedding, and the wedding planner, I literally told her, I was like, you were the right kind of, like, nasty nice for this kind of position, because what? Oh my God, like, you're so on it. And there was a question someone asked her, like, oh, like, when we were, like, with the bride walking down the aisle, is there going to be a point where, like, the pastor receives her, or is she just going to be dropped off, and then we just continue? And she goes, that is a daring question. And I was sitting here like, oh, she's nasty. I love her. This is so crazy. And everyone was so quiet. And then somehow we got back to it. And she's like, wait, what did you guys think I said? I said that is a Darren question. That's the name of the pastor. That's a question for Darren. Oh. And I was like, every single one of us thought you said daring. And we were like, oh, she want to fight.
And I'm sitting here like, what is so daring about that question?
She want to fight.
No, that's a daring.
And so I have been waiting for opportunities to implement that into my life. And so when you hit me with that, I was like, what a daring response.
See, now we have the context. There we go.
Oh, she's hitting me with that nasty nice. A web series. You were there, babes.
Yes.
I'm excited to learn.
Shut up. Okay, so I would say that a proof of concept is anything visual that can represent your idea in shorter version to expand to something larger, whether that be like a film or a TV show. It can be many different things. Like sometimes it was a web series for us. It could be a scene. It could be a trailer. It could also not be a video. It could be, some people come up with these brilliant visual decks that feel so cinematic. Like it's just like mind blowing when you see them and you're like, oh, anything enough that will,
the
like,
sizzle reel that y'all shot for Southside.
That's why I didn't want to answer, because I feel like my idea of what a proof of concept is very limited. For TV, it is a sizzle reel. For film, it is a short film, and that's the end of it for me. So I was like, I don't want to be the one to answer that question because I feel like my answer will be very limiting.
Way to go from daring to gracious.
Ooh.
I think it's anything that, like, will give them, like you said, visual representation. It could be a comic book.
Yeah.
Like a short animated piece. Like, doesn't have to be a full short film. Like anything within your resources that will bring your idea to life. It's not just you sitting here talking with a microphone. Like, so this is what I want you to give me money for.
And I think the reason why proof of concepts are so helpful for leverage is we literally in this industry have learned no one is necessarily going to read a full 200-page script. There are some that are super into that, but mainly not. Like,
and also, like, in addition to them not wanting to read all this material, it's one thing to have a great idea. It's another thing to execute that idea. So a proof of concept allows you to execute it in the way that you want the world to see it. And so they're like, oh, okay, like, it's not just a great idea. Like, tonally, this works. Like, dialogue-wise, like, everything is lining up. Okay, cool. Because you could see something or hear a pitch and be like, oh my God, that's a cool idea. And you see the final product and you're like,
yeah. And sometimes I think it's helpful too if people don't know who you are and you are pitching yourself as talent in it, or, you know, people don't know your style and you feel like you have like a really specific way of telling story, then I think like the visual aspect is better because it's like, okay, you're telling me you're going to star in this and I'm reading this on the page. I don't know who the fuck you are. Why would I trust you with this? Why would I invest in you? Like, I don't.
Totally.
And then, oh, now I can see why it's only you, you know, which I think is helpful.
Totally.
Yeah. On the page, I didn't get how like exciting it was actually gonna look.
Yeah.
And now I can see it, and I'm like, oh, you're a visionary.
yes.
And at the end of the day, it's a visual medium.
Yeah.
We do all this work writing to bring it back to life through visuals. So like, it's like almost
Especially
cutting that.
film.
Yeah.
Film is solely visual,
You know?
in my opinion.
So yeah, that's the work of it.
And you don't have to spend like $1 billion doing it because it's only going to be traded internally. So it's not something, unless you do want to put it on, you can put it on YouTube. Like, I feel like that's how Bel Air got off the ground.
It was.
That was that proof of concept. And like, the whole world was like, what is this incredible take on Fresh Prince? 5 seasons or however many they got. Like, wow.
Incredible.
But like, speaking of proof of concept, you, Crystal, just did a short film called Savage Season. You want to talk about it? Let us know what your vision is for it.
So, I mean, I feel like it's very akin to the creative process for how we've done things. Of like, you know, it's personal. I'm in it. You are in it. You will be in it, but you were sick during the proof of concept. Yes.
Real sad one there.
Yeah, you know. And I think one thing that I think really I love so much about proof of concepts as like a tool and a thing to do is like, again, if you're thinking from talent perspective, like, I want to be in this, but more cool, like the cooler thing for me is the relationships. Like, if I am able to cast my friends in it and we have this history and these like chemistries that you literally could not, yes, there's a reason why we've sold so much, because our chemistry is clear in the room, right? I want to show that in the art as well, so that it's just undeniable. And they're like, because literally so we just wrapped in July, like mid-July, and the main piece of feedback that the director told me from the crew was, he was like, Crystal, I don't know, like, they didn't know that y'all knew each other, so they were very confused about the chemistry. Like, they were mind boggled. He was like, they kept saying, how? Like, they're like, the history is lived. Like, I feel like I'm watching something lived on screen.
Wow.
And no one wanted to leave. Like, he was like, I know that's a making of a good set. You know what's good when the crew is staring. Like, if they're not needed, they're still standing around looking for like what the DP is going to do next and like what's going to happen next, you know? And that is exciting because that's the point, right? Is to captivate an essence of something. So my goal with Savage Season is 2-pronged. Like you said, sometimes when you do proof of concepts, you want it to remain fully internal. However, sometimes it's great to not do that. It's great to shoot it and have it have a life in 2 different ways. So this will go through the film festival circuit. It similar to our web series, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point, like the way we did a festival circuit with it, like, and that's what launched with awards and magnetized people to it. Same thing with Savage Season. It'll absolutely do the programming circuit, get eyes on it, and see what comes of it, just straight up as a short film. Really blessed that our director has been down that road fairly recently, did really well. So, you know, he was at Tribeca with it. So that's our goal. That's the dream. And then outside of that, it will also be something used to launch a larger TV show idea.
Yeah.
Now, so that makes me think of my question, which obviously you had originally written this as a television pilot.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the process? Because film is such a different medium, right? Where like TV is about characters, and it, you know, it's you're not wrapping up. It's like, how can you get me to come back every week? But like a film is a more of a complete story situation, right? I walk away very, very satisfied. So what was the process of taking this TV idea and turning into something that worked for film?
That's a great question. I think I removed the engine out of it. So like, obviously, like you said, for people that are newer to screenwriting, the primary difference between a TV show and a feature or a film in general is that a TV show is going to have an engine. It's going to have a story engine where you understand pretty clearly at some point in the pilot, oh, this is the hook of like, this is how this show goes. Right. This group of friends always gets together, and then they are like trapped together against this obstacle, or this is a workplace comedy, or this and that.
This is what I'm going to see every week.
Yeah, I know.
A version of
if
this.
It's Olivia Pope, they gonna have a case to solve, right? We know the engine. I love the engine. The nerd screenwriter in me loves finding the engines and helping people find their engines when I coach. I loved that in this process, I could free myself up by actually removing the engine and seeing. Almost having it be more like theme driven. Like what am I actually trying to say? Especially considering the original TV idea is now veering very differently.
Yeah. The short film has certainly influenced the direction of the potential series.
Because originally that TV idea, not to give it away, but it was a lot more like, oh, there's a challenge.
Yeah.
You're hitting these things and all these things.
Yeah.
And I realized in the process of discovery of like, what is this actually about? I'm like, oh, the story I want to tell is about mental health.
Yeah.
I want it to be darker. I want it to be less super flashy, ha ha ha, and like more psychological and more peering into someone's mind. Dropped in. With funny, because that's going to be inevitable, but like really going there in terms of what this character's greatest fears are coming to life, but also fighting for like their inner child and being like, this is actually what I want. So desires and fears kind of like colliding.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed making it darker.
Yeah.
It was so fun. It was so fulfilling and juicy. And I think the creative process for me to get there was I started with this moment that came from real life. You know, when I broke up with my ex when I first moved to California, and like they were my partner 7 years, and that's such a great inciting incident, right? Because in real life, y'all pulled up on me in this grocery store and we just kikied in the grocery store for hours, and it was hysterical because we're just we turned it into Club Ralph's. Like literally we were in a pharmacy section. Real people were walking around and they're just like looking at us like
having a full on therapy session.
Literally, like what? It was ratchet and hilarious. And so I was like, the funny's inherently there.
Right.
That's grounded.
Like you allowed yourself to be like a vessel of story and not a prisoner of genre.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah. And so I was allowed to go darker, and I'm really grateful because the director Nardeep encouraged that. When he had read the original concept, he was like, I see you. I see this. This is interesting. Go weirder. He said, I want you to get weirder. He was like, because I'm going to kill that. Like, I will kill that for you, like, visually. But don't feel trapped by genre. He was like, it almost feels like it's horror meets comedy. And he was like, just play with that. He was like, I don't want to tell you what to do, but just go off and come back when it feels right for you.
Yeah.
And it took me like 9 months. I originally met with Nardeep in the Valley at a coffee shop on Moore Park. What was that? Not this last December, the December before. And he said, go off and keep working on this. And then I came back fall of last year, and he was like, it's ready. He's like, I literally don't have a single note.
Oh, wow.
He was like, let's make it.
Yeah.
Like, and he was so
fantasy words.
Literally.
I literally don't have a single note.
Yes.
Right. That's something you always want to hear. Like, wow.
Truly.
Ring my
Finally.
bell,
Okay.
baby.
He was like, it was such a joy to have someone be like, I get this, I comprehend it, and it's good. Like, let's go. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
That's how that started.
And even in talking about the difference of like, because we were just sitting there talking about going from a TV show to a film, but there's even a difference between a feature film and a short film. Because obviously the biggest difference is the time. You have way more time to arc out a story in a feature, and you don't have that time. So we're not doing this like this massive reveal. One thing that an incredible friend of mine told me, who's like a master of short films, is like the key to a short film is you're highlighting a moment.
Yeah.
It's a moment.
Yep.
Okay, you're not doing all the like cutting to all these different people, like say like you want to do a film, a feature about like a wedding, right? And like just like whatever apprehensions that the bride and groom may have, how the parents feel, all the like the guests, the wedding party, everybody, right? We don't have that kind of time in the short. So in the short, how are we going to drill it down and make it still high stakes, like the moment before she walks out? And then maybe one or two people can represent all the other POVs. But right now, we're talking. This is this scene, and that shout out to Kieran Blessing. I do have to say that.
Ooh, yes, Kieran. I feel like I got to do some really fun, juicy, like soul searching about the point and what emerged for me. It's actually it's the beginning of my script starts with a quote that came to me, and it was like, there's intimacy when things fall apart, because that's the moment. The moment is literally her life is falling apart. She just had a breakup. Her whole life is changing, and deciding to allow friendship in that moment and allow people to see her and allow the friends to transform the moment into something greater. And like the intimacy that's a part of that with chosen family, like that's the moment.
Yeah.
The moment is like, receive when things fall apart.
Yes.
You know? So.
And as the creator and EP, you have to wear many different hats.
Girl.
Like the one you're wearing now. How did you juggle going from like the business side to the creative side, like being an actor, but also being the producer, like before production, so pre-production, in production, and now in post-production?
I would say that it was really helpful. Nardeep was so helpful as a guide, because this was a new format for me, a new process for me. And he gave me so much grounding perspective. Like he was like, look, we have to divide this. You got to do it piece by piece. It's really important that you build in enough time to raise money for your project, like build in months before we even move on to creative. He's like, I learned that the hard way when he shot his feature, Land of Gold. He was like, I didn't give myself enough time. And at the tail end of the fundraising, we were already starting pre-production, and he's an actor in it too, and the director. So he was like, I literally had to start wearing all those hats at the same time, and it was terrible. Highly do not recommend. So he was like, let's do a clean break from when you got to raise this money. We're setting that deadline. Then give yourself a breath. Like he was like, let's not even do the pre-production meeting the week after. Like, chill. Congrats. Give yourself transition to switch over and start to be pure creative. And then also another life hack that was really helpful was, he is a master. He taught me, like, he was like, you got to delegate responsibilities. And also since you were starring in this, your most important thing is protecting your energy as the creative. Keep the creative energy alive, right? So he was like, we definitely want an acting coach that's just solely making sure, like almost like an energy bodyguard, like both in the process leading up to the shoot, but also on set, making sure people are leaving you alone. They're not asking you a bunch of money questions like during the actual shoot day. Give that away. So he led us to a fantastic producer, has worked with him on many projects. She was great. She was like the logistics person, which it was such a breath of fresh air. I was like, oh, is this how men work? Do they have all this help? Like, there's people solely wholly for shit like this. Like, I don't have to think about locations. I don't have to think about going out on foot and getting things done. Like, this is so much job. Wow, it was incredible.
Is there anything that you do differently?
Oh my God. I mean, there's things you have to learn by going through it. One major thing, as you know, being on set, it was god awful hot. And one thing that was, I think,
no, you don't
it was
understand.
insane.
No, I mean, I've heard it from like 6 people.
Hades.
Yeah, no, it was really, really hot.
Yeah, it was
really hot.
crazy. And I think one thing that, I think part of, at that point, we had a production hiccup where literally our location changed 3 times. So, like, we lost a location twice 2 weeks prior. So by the 3rd location, there was no such thing as like, oh, we're not doing this. Like, it was like 3 days before when it fully locked in. It's like, well, this is happening. Because of that, there was a lack of, like, I was livid when I found out on the 2nd day that there had been an AC there. And on that 1st day, we didn't know. Like, do you
an extra crew member?
No, baby. Air conditioning.
Oh.
You talking about assistant camera?
Yeah. I was like, excuse me? How the hell did you have an extra crew member and didn't even know?
No.
Girl,
Like, I gotta pay this person their day rate? Who told them to show up?
Girl, stop.
Yes.
No.
Oh my God.
So the whole point is that whole 1st day, we could have had
there was
different
an
strategies.
extra one?
There was the ability to have an AC on when we were at least in between takes.
Yeah.
When I'm like, that 2nd day I came in, it was cooler. I was like, well, what happened? And they were like, oh, we found pretty much all the way at the top of the roof, there's an AC up there. And I was like,
I could have gone to my grave without knowing that.
I don't know how you didn't know it was cooler the 2nd day.
I thought it was just weather-wise.
No.
But also weather-wise, it was cooler.
It was. But yeah, that was the biggest, like, oh God. But again, I think for me, by the time I had gotten to set, I also had removed. I couldn't be that person.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't be the troubleshooter. I was like, I need to remain in character right now. So, like, I was just like, I'm here. Like, we're here. It's go time. But yeah, there's always going to be things you learn in the process. Like, yeah. I would say for people, my piece of advice for people starting out with the idea of a proof of concept that might not have certain relationships, people that will invest at the same level, is you really need to do your research. First of all, if you're going to use a platform like Seed and Spark, they have, it's like a school. They have a whole lesson plan of videos that teach you how to do your own fundraise. And they're really helpful. Like, they're actually very, very good. They teach you all things about harnessing social media strategy. It's like, you should not be starting a campaign on Seed and Spark without taking a month to prepare first through research. It really is that involved. If you are starting where you're at, you know, what we did when we did Downtown Girls back in the beginning, right out of college.
Family and friends.
Family and friends. Good thing about doing things when you first start something is people are generally excited for you, especially if you're in your 20s. So, like, you can really use that. Like, people will rally, and whether that's like your church or a nonprofit or a organization you're a part of, or just asking your homies.
Yeah.
Like,
and depending on what that product looked like, Chandra will or will not continue to contribute to your funds.
I'm about to beat the life up out of you when we leave this bitch.
Do not fumble,
No,
because
no pressure.
you will not get another installment of her funds.
I'm just trying. She doing all this deflection on me. She's not gonna give it to you in the first place. Please wrap it
I'll
up.
give you $1. I'll give you my time or my money. One or the other. And with that, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Unglamorous Truths. I am Amebit. You can find me at AmebitBNA.
I'm Chandra. You can find me at Chani.
I'm Crystal. You can find me at _Chris. And you can find the film at Savage Season the Film.
Period. And we are Unglamorous Truths. And you can find us at Unglamorous Truths. And you can stream our podcast wherever you find yours.